Good morning, students. Say your prayer. Thank you. நான் ஒரு நல்ல ஆசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் விருதும்படியாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்ல ஆசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் விருதும்படியாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்ல ஆசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் விருதும்படியாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். Okay, students, take your social science book. Thank you. Come to page number 40. So today we will discuss about the society and also the economy in Sangam age. Okay, so initially, many of the communities in the Iron Age society were organized as a tribe, and some of them were chiefdoms. So initially during Iron Age, so some of the communities organized as a tribes, and some people lived as a group, as chiefdoms. So the Sangam age society was a society in transition from a tribal community ruled by a chief to a larger kingdom ruled by a king. So the Sangam age society was a society in transition. So during the Sangam age only, so there was a transition from tribal community to a larger kingdom. So people began to live under a larger kingdom. So now only the Moovenders, so the Chera, Chola, Pandya emerged. Okay, so initially there is a tribal chieftains only, but from tribal chieftains to large kingdoms emerged during this Sangam age only. So what was the society? So the nature of the society. Then economy. What type of economy was practiced by the Sangam age people? Okay, so we will discuss in today's class. So just to recall what we have discussed in our previous class. So we discussed about the Moovenders. So how do we know about the Moovenders? So the references we got, especially the references from the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka. Okay, so Ashoka's inscriptions shows the detailed information about the political powers of Tamilagam. So who were the Moovenders? The Chera, then the Chola, then Pandya. Then we discussed each kingdom. So Chera, Chola, Pandya separately. So name any one Chera king. Do you know? Chengotuvan. Then the capital city of Chera was Banji. Then the capital city of Chola, Urayur. Then for the Pandyas it was Madurai. Then we discussed about some ancient text that tells us the information about the Chera, Chola and Pandya. So and also we discussed about the Velirs. So how many Velirs are there? 7. So can you tell their name? Pari, Kari, Ori, Nalli, Pagan, Ai and Adiyaman. So we discussed about the Velirs. Okay, so the Velirs were 7. Okay, so we discussed about the Moovenders and also the Velirs. Okay, so in today's class we will discuss about the society and the economy of the Sangam age Tamilagam. Okay, composition of the society. Social stratification. So stratification means the division of something into different layer or group. So stratification means division of something. So social stratification means division of society into various groups. So Tamilagam society was also divided into various groups. So social stratification had begun to take root in Tamil society by the Sangam times. So social division began to take root in Tamil society, began to take root in Tamilagam by the Sangam times. So there were several clan-based communities. So there were several clan-based communities, including the group such as Panar, Paradavar, Yeiner, Ulavar, Kanavar, Vetuvar and Maravar. So there were several clan-based communities. So there were several work-based communities. So includes such as Panar, Paradavar, Yeiner, Ulavar, Kanavar, Vetuvar and Maravar. The Venders, chiefs and their associates formed the higher social groups. So the Vendor, that means kings. The chief and their associates formed the higher social group. There were priests who were known as Andanars. So the priest. So those who do religious activities, so they were known as Andanars. There were artisan groups specializing in pottery and blacksmithing. So apart from them, there were artisan groups who were specialized in pottery and blacksmithing. The caste system that we find in North India did not take root in Tamil country. So the caste system which existed in North India was not seen in Tamil Nadu. Yeah. But the social groups were divided into 5 situational groups and related occupational patterns. Yeah. So, but the social group of Tamil Nadu was divided into 5 groups. So, based on the landscape. So, what are the 5 landscape? Yeah, Kurunji, Mullai, Mardam, Neidal, Palai. Yeah, so based on the landscape, so Tamil group society was divided into 5. Yeah, so based on their occupational pattern. Then the development of agriculture and pastoral way of life might have harmed the ecosystem and naturally available forest and wildlife. Yeah, so the development of agriculture. Yeah, so agriculture developed in Tamil Nadu. So because of our Mohavendras, especially Karikal Cholan. Yeah, so what he did? Yeah, he increased the irrigation facilities. Yeah, so the development of agriculture and pastoral way of life harmed the ecosystem and naturally available forest and wildlife. It is possible that some of the hunter-gatherers might have been pushed to the forest areas. Yeah, so it is also possible. So there is a chance that the hunter-gatherers might have been pushed to the forest areas and few might have taken up the occupation of manual laborers. Yes, it is possible that some hunter-gatherers may move interior of the forest and some might take the occupation of manual laborers. So the development of agriculture in the wetland region depended on the use of certain groups of people as laborers. Yeah, so the development of agriculture in wet area, how it was possible means, so because of the use of certain group of people as laborers. So social stratification began to take root in Tamil Nadu by Sangam time itself. Yeah, so there are several group of people. Yeah, so there were several communities in Tamil Nadu such as Panar, Paradavar, Einar, Ulavar, Kanavar, Vetuvar and Maravar. Apart from them, the higher officers. So the higher social groups were Vendar, chief and their associates. Then there were Andanars. So the priests were commonly referred as Andanars. Then artisan groups such as pottery makers, then blacksmiths. Okay, then there is no caste system as like in North India, in Tamil Nadu. Yeah, so but there is a social division based on their occupational pattern. Yeah, so Tamil country is divided based on the occupation pattern. Yeah, so then the development of agriculture may harm the ecosystem. Yeah, so there is a chance for the hunter-gatherers might push to the forest areas and some take the occupation of manual laborers. Okay, Women are frequently referred to in Tamil text as mothers, heroines and foster mothers. Yeah, so women are frequently referred in Tamil Sangam literature as mothers, heroines and foster mother. So foster mother means, yeah, if a woman take care of other women's children. Yeah, so if a women take care of other women's children, then they were considered as foster mothers. Then friendly women from Panar families, dancers, poets and royal women were all portrayed in Sangam literature. Yeah, so the women were frequently referred in Tamil literature, Tamil text as mothers, heroines and foster mothers. So friendly women from Panar families, then dancers, poets and royal women were also mentioned in Sangam literature. There are references to the women from all 5 ecozones. Yeah, so from all 5 landscapes. So apart from men, so women were also mentioned. Yeah, so for example, Venni Kuyatiyar is identified as a poetess from the village of Venni. Yeah, so for example, Venni Kuyatiyar. So she was a poetess. Yeah, so she is from a village called as Venni. Then there are references to women protecting thinai field from birds and Umanar Kula women selling salt, showing that women were involved in primary production. Yes, and also there are some references about the women who are protecting the thinai field from birds. Yes, so they are protecting the land, agriculture land from the birds, and also Umanar Kula women. Okay, so the women who sells salt. Yeah, so Umanar Kula women selling salt. Yeah, so the people who lived in the coastal region. So how was the coastal region called as? Yeah, Neidal. Yeah, so Neidal land women were called as Umanar. Okay, so they sell salt. Yeah, so this shows that they were involved in primary production. Instances where women preferred to die along with their husband also occur in the literature of the times. Yes, instances. So examples. So instances means a particular example. Yeah, so we can see some examples that women preferred to die along with their husband. So this was also mentioned in our Sangam literature. Economy. Economy was mixed as elaborated in the Tinai concept. Yes, economy was mixed. Okay, so people practiced agriculture, pastoralism, trade and money exchange, hunting, gathering, fishing, depending upon the ecozones in which they lived. So depending upon the ecozones. So depending on the area, depending upon the landscape where they lived, that decides their economy. So people practice agriculture. So take for example in Mardam, so what type of economy they have to be practiced? Agriculture. So if you take Neidal, fishing. So like that. So the ecozones decides the economy of the people. So people practiced agriculture, pastoralism, trade and money exchange, hunting, gathering and fishing. Okay. Agriculture production. Agriculture was one of the main sources of subsistence. So subsistence means state of having enough food or things to stay alive. So subsistence means state of having enough thing or food to stay alive. So agriculture was one of the main source of subsistence. Crops like paddy, sugarcane, millets were cultivated. So in Sangam age, crops like paddy, sugarcane, millets were cultivated. Both wet and dry land farming were practiced. So both wet and dry land farming were practiced in the riverine area. So riverine means near to the river or related with rivers. And tank irrigated areas, paddy was cultivated. So in the riverine, so in the riverside and also in tank irrigated areas, paddy was cultivated. Millets were cultivated in dry land. So in the wet areas, so paddy was cultivated, while in the dry areas, millets were cultivated. So varieties of rice such as sennil, that is red rice, vennil, white rice, and ivananil, a type of rice, are mentioned in the Sangam literature. So there were varieties of rice. So there are lot of varieties of rice such as sennil, red rice, vennil, white rice, and ivananil, a type of rice, are mentioned in the literature. So rice grains were found in the burial urns at excavation in Adichanallur and Porundal. So rice grains. So the grains of rice were found at burial urns at excavations in Adichanallur and Porundal. So people in the forest adopted Poonam or shifting cultivation. So people in the forest region adopted Poonam or shifting cultivation. So Poonam or shifting cultivation means, so they do agriculture practice for some times, and after harvesting, if the fertility of the soil get reduced, it means they abandon that place. So they destroy that place and move to another place. So that is called a shifting cultivation. So this type of practice was followed by the people in forest region. So agriculture was one of the main source of subsistence. So crops like paddy, sugarcane, millets were cultivated. So both wet and dry land agriculture was in practice. So in the riverside, so they cultivated paddy, while in the dry land they cultivated millets. So there are several varieties of rice such as sennil, vennil, ivananil were mentioned in the Sangam literature. So recently in archaeological excavation in Adichanallur and Porundal, so they found some rice grains in burial urns. So people in the forest adopted Poonam or shifting cultivation. Industries and crafts of the Sangam age. So craft production and craft specialization were important aspects of urbanization. So urbanization means people doing non-agriculture activities. So in urbanization, so people do non-agriculture activities. So craft production and craft specialization were important aspects of urbanization. In the Sangam age, there were professional groups that produced various commodities, so various things. So in the Sangam age, there were professional groups. There were people who produced various products, so various commodities. So the system of production of commodities is called as industry. So the system of production of commodities is called as industry. So craft means what? A job which need skill. So a thing made by hand which need skill. So craft means nothing but the things which were made by hand that need skills. So craft production and craft specialization were important aspect of urbanization. Pottery. So pottery was practiced in many settlements. So people used pottery produced by the potters. So the potters were called as Kalamiko. Okay, so the potters were called as Kalamiko in their daily activities, and so they were made in large numbers. Okay, so people used pottery for their daily activities, so that they need pottery in large numbers. Okay, so the potters were called as Kalamisko. Okay, so blackware. So that is black in color. Russet coated painted ware. So russet means reddish brown in color. So black and red ware potteries were different types of pottery used. So the different types of pottery. So the potteries were not in same color or in same size. So they used a different size. So they used different colors. So black ware, russet coated painted ware, black and red ware potteries. So they were used. So pottery was practiced in many settlements. So people used pottery produced by the Kalamiko, so that is potters, in their daily activities, and so they need large number of potters. Okay, so they need large number of pottery, so that the potters made large number of pottery. Okay, so black ware, russet coated painted ware, black and red ware potters were different types of pottery used. Then iron smelting industry. So iron making industry. So the Sangam age period is emerged from the Iron Age society. Okay, so from Stone Age to Iron Age, then Iron Age to Sangam Age. So before Sangam Age itself, so people learned to use iron for making tools. Okay, so iron manufacturing was an important artisanal activity. Iron smelting was undertaken in traditional furnaces, and such furnaces with terracotta pipes and raw ore have been found in many archaeological sites. So iron manufacturing was an important archaeological site. So iron manufacturing was an important archaeological site evidence. Okay, iron smelting was undertaken in traditional furnaces. So furnaces means a space surrounded on all sides by walls and a roof for heating metal to very high temperature. So furnaces means nothing but a space surrounded on all sides by walls and a roof for heating metal to very high temperature. Okay, so we have traditional furnaces. So archaeological excavations shows some traditional furnaces. Okay, so they have been found in many archaeological sites. So apart from that, furnaces with terracotta pipes and raw ore. So the raw ore means the iron ore. So which is used for making iron. So have been found in many archaeological sites. For example, evidence of iron smelting has been found in Kodumanal and Guttur. Okay, so evidence for iron smelting has been found in Kodumanal and Guttur. So Sangam literature speaks of blacksmith. So blacksmith means those who made things made of iron. So Sangam literature speaks of blacksmith and their tools and activities. Iron implements were required for agriculture and warfare. So iron implement, they were used in agriculture, and also they are used for making warfare. So that is, they are used for making swords, daggers and spears. Because iron smelting industry was an important artisanal activity. So we have evidence about iron smelting industries in various archaeological sites, especially in Kodumanal and Guttur we have find. Okay, so Sangam literature speaks about the blacksmiths. So where we use the iron implements? In agriculture. So in agriculture we use iron implements, and also in war field we use iron. Stone ornaments. So Sangam age people adorned themselves. So they decorated themselves with a variety of ornaments. So the poor people wore ornaments made of clay, terracotta, iron and leaves and flowers, while the rich people wore jewelry made of precious stones, copper and gold. Okay, so Sangam age people also adorned themselves. So they were interested in decorating themselves. So by wearing a variety of ornaments. Okay, so the people wore ornaments. So especially the poor people wore ornaments made of clay, terracotta, iron and leaves and flowers, while the rich people made of precious stones, copper, gold. Yes, the rich people wore jewelry made of precious stones, copper and gold. So we have discussed about the composition of the society, so the social stratification, then the position of women, then economy. We discussed about agriculture production, so the crops cultivated in Sangam age Tamil Nadu. Yeah. Then the industries, okay, that is the system of production of commodities. Then pottery. Yeah, so people used pottery in their daily activities. Yeah, so who produced those pottery? So how was they called as? Yeah, Kalamico. Then the iron smelting industry. So where do we have the evidence of iron smelting industries? Yeah, Kodumanal and Gattur. Then we discussed about the stone ornaments. Yeah, so Sangamage people so adorned themselves. So they decorated themselves with a variety of ornaments. Now the gold jewelry. Yeah, so gold ornaments were well known in this period. Yeah, so gold ornaments were well known in Sangam period. So how they make gold? So from where they get gold? So it was told the gold coins from Roman was used to make jewelry. So already we know that we have trade contact with the Roman Empire. So the gold coins, so from Roman was used to make jewelry. Evidence of gold smelting has been found at Pattanam in Kerala. So we got gold coins from Rome and we smelt. So smelt means. So melt means so to heat and melt the material, that is to heat and convert the rock substances, so solid substances into a liquid one. So evidence of gold smelting has been found at Pattanam in Kerala. So gold ornaments have been unearthed at the megalithic sites of Suttukeni, Adichanallur and Kodumanal and the towns of Arikamedu, Keeladi and Pattanam. So we have gold ornaments. So gold ornaments have been unearthed at the megalithic sites. So megalithic site means mega stone age sites of Suttukeni, Adichanallur, Kodumanal and also in the towns of Arikamedu, Keeladi and Pattanam. So in these sites we have excavated the gold ornaments. Then the glass beads. So the presence of glass beads at the sites reveals that the people of the Sangam age knew how to make glass beads. So the presence of glass beads at the sites shows that the people of the Sangam age knew how to make the glass beads. So glass material, that is silica, was melted in a furnace. So furnace means, so can you remember that in the iron smelting industry, so we saw that furnaces, no? Yeah, a space surrounded on all sides by wall and a roof for heating metal or glass to very high temperature. So in the furnaces, so they melt the glass material and drawn into long tubes which were then cut into small bits. So the glass materials, that is silica, was melted in a furnace and drawn and poured into long tubes and then they were cut into small bits. So glass beads came in various shapes and color. So the glass beads came in various shapes and colors. Arikamedu, Kudikadu near Kadalur show evidences of glass beads industry. So near Kadalur, so Arikamedu and Kudikadu shows the evidence of glass beads industry. It is possible that people who could not afford precious stones used glass beads instead. So it is possible that the people who could not buy the precious stones may use these glass beads. Okay, so the glass beads. So the presence of glass beads at the sites reveals that the Sangam age people knew how to make the glass beads. So the glass material, that is silica, was melted in a furnace and drawn into long tubes. So and the melted glass material, the melted silica was poured into a long tube which were then cut into small bits. So these glass bits are of various shapes and various color. So we have the evidence of glass beads industry in Arikamedu and Kudikadu. So it is possible that the people who could not afford, who could not buy or who could not use precious stones may use glass beads sometimes. Then the pearl fishery and shell bangle. So the Pamban coast is famous for pearl fishery. So Pamban coast, so where it is located? Between Sri Lanka and Tamil Nadu, so south of Tamil Nadu, especially in Thoothukudi. Okay, especially in Thoothukudi. So the Pamban coast is famous for pearl fishery and shell bangle. So you can see in this map. Pamban coast. So the Pamban coast is famous for Pearl fishery. A pearl has been discovered in recent excavation at Keeladi. Yes, at Keeladi. So now also you heard a lot of information about Keeladi. Yes, archaeological excavation. So it was recently completed. Yeah. So recently they have discovered a pearl. So shell bangles were very common in the Sangam age. Yes, in the Sangam age. So shell bangles was commonly used. The Paradavar so collected conch shell from the Pamban island, which were cut and crafted into bangles by the artisans. Yes, the Paradavar. So that is the people who lived in the coastal region, that is in the Netherlands, were called as Pardavar. Okay, so the Pardavar collected the conch shells from the Pamban island, which were cut and crafted into bangles by the artisans. So whole shells as well as fragments of bangles have been found at many sites. So whole shells as well as fragment of bangles have been found at many sites. Sangam literature describes women wearing shell bangles. So Sangam literature describes about the women wearing shell bangles. Then textile. Textile production was another important occupation. So apart from the various occupation, so textile production was also an important occupation. So evidence of spindle whorl. So spindle whorl means spindle whorl used for making thread from cotton. So spindle whorls used for making thread from cotton, and pieces of cloth have been found at Kodumanal. So evidence of spindle whorls and pieces of cloth have been found at Kodumanal. Literature to references to the cloth as Kalingam. Yes, literature refers about cloth as Kalingam. Okay, so Kalingam means cloth and other fine varieties of textiles. Yeah, so literature, so Sangam literature, so also refers to cloth called as Kalingam and other fine varieties of textiles. Periplus. So can you remember? Yeah, Periplus of Erythraean Sea. So a Greek document, a navigational guide used by the sailors. Yeah. So Periplus also mentions the fine variety of textiles produced in the Tamil region. So textile production was an important occupation. So apart from the various occupations, so which we have discussed. So agriculture, iron industry, then pottery, stone ornaments, so glass beads, etc. We have discussed now. So apart from that, textile production was an important occupation. So we have the evidence of spindle whorls and pieces of cloth. So they have been found at Kodumanal. So Kodumanal, it is near Chennimalai. Okay, so evidence of spindle whorls and pieces of cloth have been found at Kodumanal. So literature too refers to cloth called as Kalingam and other fine varieties of textiles. So Periplus of Erythraean Sea, a Greek document. So that mentions about the fine variety of textiles produced in the Tamil region. Okay students, in today's class we have discussed about the society and economy. Yes, in economy we have discussed about the people and their activities, yes, and their economic activities, especially agriculture and their industries. Okay, so in tomorrow's class we will discuss about the trade activities. Okay, so in tomorrow's class we will discuss about the trade activity of ancient Tamilagam. So that is the Sangam age Tamilagam. Okay, so if you have any doubt in this lesson, contact me. So today's textbook reading. Take page number 42. Read the headings: the gold jewelry, glass beads, then pearl fishery and shell bangle. So read these 3 paragraphs as textbook reading. Then homework. Take page number 50. Fifth Roman letter. Agriculture was one of the main source of subsistence in Sangam age. Give reason. So answer in page number 41. See the heading: agriculture production. In that, the first point, agriculture was one of the main source of subsistence. Crops like paddy, sugarcane and millets were cultivated. Second point. Then third point, in the riverine and tank irrigated areas, paddy was cultivated, millets were cultivated in dry land. Then leave the next point. Then come to next point. Rice grains were found at burial urns at excavations in Adichinallur and Porundal. That's all. So this is the answer for third question. Okay, so write it neatly and read it well. Okay, so today's class we discussed about the society, so the social stratification, so social division in Tamil Nadu. It was not like as in North India. So social division in Tamil Nadu is based on the landscape and occupation pattern. Then we discussed about the women. So how the women's were treated in Sangam age. Then in economy, we discussed about the agriculture production. So the agriculture practice of Sangam age people. Then the pottery. So the potters. So the pottery used by ancient Sangam people. Then the iron industries. So the archaeological site which shows the evidence of iron smelting industry. Then the ornaments. So that is the made of stone and also the precious ornaments. Okay, so the rich wore jewelry made of precious stones, while the poor wore ornaments so made of clay, terracotta, iron, etc. Then we discussed about the glass beads and also the gold jewelry. So the gold ornaments, so which have been unearthed at megalithic sites of Adichanallur, Kodumanal, and also in Arikamedu, Keeladi. Then we discussed about the pearl fishing. So the Pamban coast, so famous for pearl fishing, and also the shell bangles. So who collect the conch shell from the Pamban island? Paradavar. So Paradavar, so who lived in the coastal region. So they belong to the Netherlands. So they collect bangles, that is the shells, and gave them to the artisans who craft them into bangles. Then finally we discussed about the textiles. So the evidence of spindle wools and pieces of cloth have been found at Kodumanal. So how were the cloths referred by the Sangam literature? Kalingam. Okay, and also the foreign book, so the foreign document, so that mentions the fine rate of textiles produced in Tamil Nadu was Periplus. So we have discussed these things in detail. In tomorrow's class, we'll discuss about the trade activities. Okay, so complete your homework. So read the textbook also. So thank you. Have a nice day.